Peace, peace. It's your boy Selah, Shalom. Another beautiful day at the sunrise in the east. You know what I mean? Got water behind me, the tranquility, stillness. You know, before creation, there was stillness, motionlessness in the cosmos. In certain pockets of the cosmos, there's no beginning and end to the cosmos. So when the creator is not performing creation, things are in stillness, no motion, tranquility. In order for creation to start, there has to be motion. Motion is the indicator of time. You cannot have time without motion. Because I don't care how fast you go from this point to that point, you're still subjected to time, regardless of how fast it took place for you to get from one distance to another. In order to be timeless, you'll have to be dealing with no motion, stillness. That is where you find no time. That was the debate I had with the elder. It was about time. And I was explaining to him that time only exists with motion. And the first cause of motion is the vortex. That's what I was explaining to the elder. But being that he was headlong into the scriptures, trying to use the 7-day creation story, he couldn't see what I was saying. And what I was saying is the works and words of the creator. It's nothing that I'm making up. I can demonstrate what I'm saying in creation. Once you can demonstrate what you're saying in creation, it's hard to disprove it. And then with that, you have the creator on your side, because you're using the creator's examples to prove your point. So the creator is going to rock with you for that. Just imagine somebody tell you, yo, my man told me about this, that, and the third. And you be like, yo, you told him I told you that? You be like, yeah. You be like, all right, I'm going to rock with you for that. Same thing with the creator. I mean, you back him up, he back you up. Now, like I said, time is subjected to motion, and the vortex is the first cause of creation and the first cause of motion, which is the first time. So when we talk about the first time, we got to deal with the vortex. In the beginning was the vortex, and then the vortex created the light, and that light in the beginning was the sun. When you understand the solar system, you will realize, peace, that the solar system, the sun is the center. It's the first cause before the planets. First you got the sun, then the planets. But in the Bible, it got you believing that the earth came first, and then the sun, moon, and stars. That's backwards. Nature does not show that. Because first of all, when you look at the creation story, and it talks about the first day, the second day, the third day. Now you got three days that went by before the sun was created. And the crazy thing about that is that you can't even use the term daylight unless you're referring to the sun. So that's one mistake that the false gods forgot to correct when creating their false account. They forgot to put the sun as the first cause, and then the planets as the body, or the second cause. Because everything is ingrided in the solar system. The planets rotate around the sun. The earth is not in a dome. The earth is in a vortex. And you're right, you cannot get out of this vortex on your own accord. There's appointed times that you get out of this vortex. And those appointed times are called harvest times. It's like graduation at school. But you have to pass the grades in order to be considered. So with that being said, every 400 years, according to the OAHSPE, which are called subcycles, these harvests take place. And these harvests are for angels that are in the third resurrection, or the third atmospheric heaven belonging to the planet. And then at the graduation, or at the harvest time, the Etherians will descend down, take the host, and take them outside of the earth and its atmosphere into the Etherian realm. So that's the only times you really could get outside of the vortex of the earth under the authority and management of those above you. So we are trapped in a vacuum of a vortex, and the earth is in the center of that vortex. Now, the Bible don't speak about the vortex, so those who study scripture have no knowledge about this, essentially, unless they've been watching or reading the OAHSPE, because the OAHSPE breaks it down, and then nature breaks it down as well. Everything is in motion, everything is revolving. Now they're trying to tell you that the sun and the moon are revolving inside of the dome of the earth. Now, really and truly, I don't even entertain a logical thought. I don't entertain things that don't make sense. Now, they'll tell you that rockets hit the dome of the earth. Well, it should be in the Guinness Book of World Records that rockets rose higher than the sun. Historically speaking, what have you known to rise above the sun? But those who believe in this dome concept will tell you that rockets hit the dome. So that means these rockets had to ascend higher than the sun to hit the dome. But why is that not recorded in the Guinness Book of World Records? You know why it's not? Because it's nonsense. It's another agenda by these fallen angels, these false gods, to keep you bound, to keep you imprisoned in a dome. That's the whole plan of these false gods, to keep you in bondage in their heavenly kingdom. If one tactic don't work, they move on to try another one. Now they're trying to bring back this flat earth theory. Oh, the earth is flat and you in the dome and the sun, moon, and stars are in the dome. So nothing goes on outside of this dome, everything is within. That's hellbound. And good luck for those, because I don't entertain that, you know what I mean? I'll debate it all day and crush it, because it's a theory, it's not a fact. That's why they got so many theories about it. Once you have a fact, there's only one answer. 1 + 1 is 2. You don't need a whole bunch of explanations for that. It's one answer to that. So if the flat earth was true, there wouldn't be so many theories and hypotheses and explanation, and then some of the explanations and hypotheses contradict each other. Y'all can have that. Y'all can have that. We're going to stick with the idea that the earth is engulfed in a vortex, and this vortex have 3 atmospheric layers, which is proven. The ionosphere, the stratosphere, you got the different layers that is proven. And our agenda as physical beings is to live a good corporeal life, do service unto others, so when you cross over in spirit, you could go into one of these higher atmospheric realms based off your works on earth. So if you make it to the second resurrection, you do your works in the second resurrection, and then when it's the harvest time, you graduate into the third resurrection, the third atmospheric realm belonging to the earth and its atmosphere. And then after that, you graduate and go off into the other areas of the cosmos to further educate yourself. And being that the cosmos is endless, that's endless education. But you got to start somewhere. But with the flat earthers, you can't get that. They have no clue of where they're going after death. They have no clue about the spiritual progression. They have no clue about the grades and rates, the service done unto others, what you got to do to even rise to the next grade. What is the difference between the first and second resurrection? In the Bible, it talk about the first death and the second death. Or those who ain't going to make the first, they're going to have to rise on the second resurrection. What is it? What's the difference between the first and the second resurrection? But you want to talk about the flat earth. What you got to do in order to get to the second resurrection? But you want to tell niggas the earth is flat and it's in a dome and all this nonsense. Nah, man. Y'all wasting time. And your spiritual grade is going to be low, wasting time with those arguments. Now, you got people who are experts in philosophy, experts in mathematics, experts in certain areas of knowledge, but they may not do nothing to help people. You know, that same person who was an expert, a poor person may come and ask them for $1 to get a drink. Nah, man, why don't you go find a job? See that attitude right there? Anybody who do that, and you may be a victim of that. You're lowering your grade when you do that. You're lowering your spiritual grade. But if you reach in your pocket and say, "Here, brother, this is my last $1, get son a drink, man, you know what I mean, I hope the best for you." You're raising your spiritual grade. Not because you gave him that $1, but your service done unto others is the key thing. You know what I mean? So he may get that and go buy a drink, quench his thirst, you know what I mean, and that's your blessing for that particular act. And you got to continue those acts. It ain't got to be about the money either. You know, somebody could be hungry. That's how I test some of the poor people to see if they genuine or not. They be like, "Yo, man, I'm poor. I ain't got nothing to eat. I'm hungry. Can you give me a couple $?" And I may be like, "You know what? Let me buy what you want to eat. I'll buy it for you." And if they be like, nah, I just want the money, that lets me know right there they have a different agenda. They may want to go buy some crack. They may want to go buy some beer and get more intoxicated. So instead of me giving them the money, I may give them words of wisdom. Nah, brother, you got to straighten up. You know what I mean? I know the hustle. I know what you're trying to do. I ain't going to further increase or decrease your situation. I will buy you something to eat. You can take it or leave it. Ah, man, I'm straight. See? So that was on him. You know what I mean? Although I offered my deeds, I offered my services, he didn't want it. So that's another thing. You got to know how to do charity. You got to know how to do charitable work. Because you could have gave that man a couple dollars and he could have went and brought some crack, got an overdose and died. And his death was partial, leads back to you, giving him that crack money. But sometimes you got to weigh the option, weigh the deed, weigh the service done unto others. Because you could be doing service done unto others and harming people. So it's a serious thing. It's a serious matter, and you got to be disciplined. OAHSPE in the Book of Judgment gives a great explanation on how to do charity. And with that being said, you will have a better outlook on how to deal with people when it comes to charitable works or service done unto others. You got to be wise about it. It's good people, but you can't be good stupid. You got to be good smart. There's some good people out here, but they dumb as hell. They don't know nothing. You know what I mean? So it's not about just having a good heart. It's about having knowledge of self, knowledge and understanding. Be stern, militant. Know when to put your foot down and say no sometimes. You can't always give everybody something. Sometimes when you give too much, it cripples that person and they depend on you. So you got to consider that as well. Be mindful of that when you servicing others. Your whole purpose is to serve them for them to be independent so they could be back situated in their life or they could go help others in that same manner. That's how you break bread. Now, there's karma after death. The way you live according to this life has a lot to do with when you cross over. I'm going to read a couple verses from the Book of Knowledge from the OAHSPE just to show you how this book deals with spirituality. Now this is the Book of Knowledge, chapter 6, verse 3. It states, as a man lives on earth, acquiring perfection or imperfection in spirit, so will he enter the spirit world at death. So here it's telling you that at death, the same way you strive for perfection or imperfection, so shall you enter the spirit world. Verse 4, death is the severing knife that separates the corporeal man from the spiritual man. The former returns to the earth. The former, meaning the flesh body, returns to the earth. But the latter, meaning the spirit, survives and in time rises upward, meaning rises upward into the different atmospheric plateaus. And let me stop there for a second, because according to the Bible, they'll tell you that when you die, you sit there and rest. But that's just referring to the flesh. You're confusing the flesh with the spirit. You think the spirit's supposed to be subjected to the flesh when it's resting in the ground. Soon as the spirit leaves the body, the spirit is free. It's not subjected to the body anymore. I just want to clear it up for some of you Christians who think that the spirit rests with the body in the grave. No, it doesn't. Verse 5, by death man suffers the loss of companionship of mortals, but is quickened and united with those he loved before. See that? So when this verse is saying that when you die, the loved ones are going to be suffering for your loss. But you, the individual, when you cross over in spirit, you're going to see those who have passed prior to your passing, and you will be united with them, comforting and rejoicing to the spirit. At first, you don't even know if there's life after death. Some of y'all still lost on that. Once you actually have the experience and bear witness, it's going to be a joy to the spirit. Verse 6, a new world is open to him, talking about when you cross over in spirit, full of light and splendor, fitted to his spirit, even more glorious and real than the corporeal world was once to his mortal part. So here it's saying you that the spirit world is more glorious and real than this world. Now we can't even fathom that. But here this book is giving you insight on these things to prepare you for your death. Verse 7, as a corporeal man requires corporeal food, clothing, and a habitable place to dwell, so does his spirit require similarly, and is so provided within atmospheria, but spiritually. See that? So the same way we got to provide food, clothing, and shelter, likewise in the spirit world, there's a food, clothing, and shelter provider as well. See, OAHSPE is clearing these things up. It's taking away the spookism. It's showing you the parallel that the physical and the spirit world is hand in hand. They coincide. Verse 8, the first habitable place in spirit is on the earth, and around near the earth, and mostly within the same house where he dwelt in mortal form. Let me stop there. So when you cross over in spirit, your first abide is going to be still right here on the earth. And look what it said. More likely you'll be dwelling in the same home you was living in when you was on earth. That's why when a lot of people move into these homes and they done hear voices or they done seen spirits, yes, because it's the spirits of those who lived there prior. Now, but the spirit is subtle, and moves not as corporeal things move, but having power and presence with friends and kin at remote distances, as if all was in one place. For such is the nature of the spirit world. See that? Now spirits can speak through people as familiar spirits, as prophets of old. Reason being is that the spirit can occupy corporality. They're still present, they're still on earth. So if you die, you can occupy a person's body, as stated in verse 9. Spirit exists within corpora, and by this means the dead are able to manifest to the living. However, to those living who have no conscience of their own spirit, the spirits of the dead cannot manifest intelligently to them. Let me stop there. This is why you cats cannot communicate with the spirits, or this is why you have no understanding of the spirit world, because you're not connected. You have no knowledge of your own spirit. So let alone the ancestors trying to knock at your skull, trying to get you to wake up, you think it's spookism. Now, verse 10, for a mortal to be conscious of his own spirit, it must transcend his corporeal senses. He who does not know of his own spirit is weak indeed. Such a man born into the spirit world is like a newborn child, knowing nothing. This is why it's important to strengthen your spirit. How do you strengthen your spirit? By the service you do unto others. Acquiring knowledge of creation. So when you cross over in spirit, you're still conscious. Because you could cross over in spirit and act like you was never on this plane. Having the conscience of a baby, knowing nothing. And it's going to take you a while before you even realize that you was alive. This is why the OAHSPE is important. Because it gives you these insights. It tells you how to prepare for yourself. How to prepare yourself for your physical death. Verse 11. All men born into spirit life die imperfect, ignorant, and weak, depending on nurses, guardians, and doctors. Many of these dependents are slain in war or in desperate madness and are born into spirit life in chaos. Some will not leave the battlefield. So with that being said, when you cross over in spirit, just like a baby, the baby comes into the world weak, helpless, depending on nurses and doctors, the mother, the father, family, the village, to take care of it. Same thing in the spirit world. When you cross over in spirit, you have no clue of what's on the other side. So you're totally dependent on those who are already there to cater to you, take care of you, clothe you, shelter you. Everything gonna be okay, calm down. Verse 12, to the long-suffering and to the weary, who are upright of heart, death is a doorway to a world of bliss, rest, and love. So for those who may be out here homeless, suffering, have no money, impoverished, but still got a good heart, they got a good place in the spirit world. Verse 13, to the captain and general, who are slayers of men, death is a doorway to where hastily wounds sprang up before them, and frenzied men cry out for vengeance. And the slayers of men run away, but cannot escape. They cry out, but are mocked at. The wailing of the widows and orphans is an increasing horror to them. Their nose is suffocated, and their eyes appalled, with the constant presence of gaping, bloody wounds. So basically, this verse is telling you that anybody who partake in warfare, who got blood on their hands, when they cross over in spirit, they're going to have a hard time, because their conscience is going to be affecting them based off what they did on earth, and they're going to be taunted by the spirits of the dead who they slain. So all y'all cats talking about going to war 2/3 is, man, y'all better relax. Y'all have no clue of the spirit world. and what's entailed when you move in that manner. Verse 14, the leader of men, like I was saying, a lot of these Israelite camps, their leaders are very boastful and prideful, you know, arrogant, very arrogant. I'm seeing it. Look what it says, verse 14, the leader of men entered the spirit world to meet an army of misled confidence. See that? And his tricks and falsehoods are like soil and spotted garments to hide a blackened heart. He turns away, but the mirror of his past deeds hangs up before him. So here OAHSPE is laying out the condition after death. Whatever you do, you got to pay for it. It's a penalty or reward. And if you're leading others, if you got a congregation of 10, or a congregation of 20, or a congregation of 100 or 1,000, you're responsible for each one of them in your congregation. If you're leading that congregation, you have a great responsibility. And if you're not leading them righteously, everybody in that congregation will turn on you in spirit. They'll turn on you and expose you as false. And this is how these false gods become false gods. They start getting a little following, and their ego and their pride will get real big, and they think nobody can challenge them, and they're right with everything. And when their world collapses, they follow us, turn on them. That's how it always ends up with these false gods in the OAHSPE. But those are just a couple of verses I just want to touch on, just to show you the nature of the spirit world and how OAHSPE really coincides and deals with spirituality on a whole nother level, unlike any other book. Just want to touch on that for a second.